Folks, we got a pretty fun one for you today. We've got 3 of the best 7mm PRC rifles you can get. We're going to give you a first look at. Now, we intend to get all these to the range and ring them out thoroughly with different types of ammunition and so forth, see how they group, how reliable they are, how smooth they are, and how ergonomic they are to shoot. But for now, let's just look at the features that are built into these fine rifles. And why the 7mm PRC? Well, people that have used it are pretty darn convinced that it is the single best all-purpose Western big game hunting cartridge that's ever been invented. And they just could be right. I'm still kind of sticking my guns with the traditional 280 Ackley approved I love so much, but man, that 7 PRC is a really, really good cartridge, and it's certainly more modern. Shoots some of the finest long-range bullets that have ever been invented. So whether you're shooting an elk at 200 yards or 600 yards across the canyon, it's nice to have that kind of authority on impact and the wind bucking capability of a really streamlined 7mm bullet pushed from an inherently accurate cartridge. So let's see what we got here. This is the Weatherby Model 307 Alpine CT. This one right here is Springfield Armory's new 2020 Boundary. And I really like this rifle. This is kind of a surprise to me, and I'll tell you why I like it so much. And then on the bottom here, kind of blending with our tabletop and the background, is maybe the most innovative of these 3 rifles. This one is a Seekins Havoc Element, and I'll tell you why it's cool too here in just a minute. Let's start with the tall one here, the Weatherby, just because I know it best, and I actually have shot this one quite a bit at the range. This is the rifle I took to New Zealand last spring for fallow deer, tahr, Himalayan tahr, and chamois in the high country. It shoots fantastic. Got a BSF carbon fiber sleeved barrel, really nice muzzle brake on it, and a Remington 700 type action. Now, when Weatherby decided to do a 700 type action, they did it right. This is the action that, dare I say, Remington should have built in the first place. It's got a better extractor than the original Remingtons. It's got really nice profiling. It's fit with a Trigger Tech trigger, and it is a very smooth, reliable action paired with that BSF barrel. It shoots fantastic. Now I've got it mounted on a Spartan miniature tripod here. We're going to take it off because something I want to do, we're not going to rely on factory advertised weights. So I'm going to put my scale right here, and we're going to weigh each of these rifles individually and see what they actually weigh. Keep in mind, this one has a scope on it and the others don't. But scoped up, ready to go up the mountain, that one is 8 pounds, 1 ounce. This is about a 20-ounce Leupold scope on it with the ring, so we can extrapolate and minus off that way. It's about 1.25 pounds, maybe 1.5 pounds with the rings, right? We're looking at about a 6.5 pound rifle right here. And this one, specific one, we've put Spartan flush fit quick detach adapters into, but what's key about this rifle is it's got a really, really good carbon fiber stock that's beautifully engineered to be ergonomic for comfort. It shoulders really nicely and positions your hand well for a torque-free address to the trigger. Has a nice high comb with a negative slope up front so that recoil drops the stock away from your cheek instead of slamming it. Of course, nicely bedded between the action and the stock, free-floated. Those are characteristics that most of these rifles are going to share. So we'll introduce them up front with this Weatherby, and then we'll just mention them as they pertain to the others. Now, this rifle suggested retail is north of $2,000, but you can generally find it at dealer shops for right around $2,000. Oh, I got to mention before we move on, the Weatherby has a 22-inch barrel. With the brake on, it's about 24 as you see it. If you want to put a suppressor on there, it's not horribly long. Let's go next to the Springfield 2020 Boundary. The Boundary in the 2020 model by Springfield is actually a quite similar rifle in many aspects, and one of the reasons I like it so much is that it's got a hinged floor plate on the bottom, just like the Weatherby does. But one big reason why these two are two of my favorite new rifles built in 7mm PRC. Some people love a detachable box magazine. I'm not one of them because I have lost them in crucial hunting situations. In Alaska, I've lost them here in Idaho. So I like a hinged floor plate like these ones have. Just pop the button, you can empty your rifle out the bottom. That'll never get lost in the backcountry, and you're never going to end up the creek without a paddle, as the old saying goes, because you've lost your magazine. Now, this is also a Remington 700 type action. So many rifles clone that type of action because it's very easy to build and be very accurate. Beautifully machined bolt, same type of rocker type safety on the right side. All these rifles share that. Also a Trigger Tech trigger in it. These are click adjustable for pull weight. I think all of these also have the Trigger Tech trigger. Really, really nice. This carbon fiber stock is made by AG Composites, which is one of the best companies on the scene today. They build a very, very nice stock, extremely rigid, extremely strong, free-floated, well-bedded, and like the Weatherby, this also has a BSF barrel. Carbon fiber sleeved, radial muzzle brake up front rather than side ported. So this one's going to kick a little more dust up when you're laying prone in sandy conditions or whatnot. Another thing worth noting, this has a 24-inch barrel as opposed to the 22-inch on the Weatherby. So you'll get a little more velocity, but it's going to be a little cumbersome when you put a suppressor on the end of it. Nice recoil pad, very, very good rifle. These actually both come with a cross slot type scope rail on the top of the action. I took the one off of the Weatherby because candidly I don't like them. They force you to mount your scope higher than I like above the action. This makes your rifle a bit top heavy and makes it hard to get a cheek weld on that's stable and consistent while you're looking through the rifle, right? So let's stick this one on the scale and see what it weighs. It's bare, as we're looking at it right here. This one weighs exactly 7 pounds. Take that rail off, you're going to knock off 2 to 4 ounces. But then, of course, you're going to put your scope and your bases and rings on that. But it's a really, really nice setup. One other feature that shooters will appreciate if they like M-LOK accessories is the two built-in M-LOK rails underneath this forend tip. You'll note this rifle does not have traditional sling swivel studs. Instead, it's got quick detach sling cups. Let's go now to the Seekins rifle. And I mentioned that this one is the most innovative. Why is that? Well, it uses an aluminum action. This is machined out of aerospace grade 70-75 aluminum. And as a result, it's extremely light. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the design, you're probably saying, wait a minute, how's that strong enough to hold the pressures of a modern high-power cartridge? It isn't. What is strong enough is the breech of the barrel, which is steel, and the bolt, which is also steel. The locking lugs in this bolt do not interface with the aluminum action, not in that front receiver ring in the traditional fashion. Instead, they lock directly into the breech of the barrel. It's a different feeling action, this one, but really unique and really, really light. I have yet to shoot this rifle or the Springfield Boundary, but reports are that both of these rifles are going to shoot really well. I couldn't find any kind of an accuracy guarantee for the Seekins, but Springfield offers a 3/4 minute of angle accuracy guarantee. That is outstanding. Now, here's a detachable box magazine, right? And for this rifle, man, that's just fine. This is beautifully made out of carbon fiber. This is not your traditional kind of heavy, clunky metal magazine or bulky injection molded polymer magazine. So super light, fits in there really nicely. And for those of you whose state may kind of almost require a detachable magazine because you can't put your rifle in your truck with ammo in the magazine or whatever, that's a great solution. Unique trigger guard, big enough to use with gloves, nice smooth action. The rail on this one, super light. You can see how it's machined out, scalloped out in the top there. It's machined integral with the action, so you can't remove this one. That's kind of okay. You can still get your scope mounted pretty low. Seekins makes some of the finest ultra low profile cross slot type rings on the market. So I got some of those to mount on this rifle. It comes with a thread cap installed, but with a nice side port brake as well. Here's where things get fun. Let's weigh this one. This tips the scale at less than 6 pounds. Specifically 5 pounds, 14 ounces. For a long action Magnum rifle, that's pretty extraordinary. Now you will have noted that this does not have a carbon fiber wrap barrel. It's a deeply fluted steel barrel, really well made. It's stainless steel, so it's finished in a Cerakote or some other type of corrosion resistant finish. I'm pretty sure it's Cerakote, but I should have looked that up ahead of time. I'm not sure also how these stocks are made. I can't quite discern whether this is a true carbon fiber stock, which I believe, or it's some kind of an injection molded matrix with a fiber-based material. What I can tell you is it's really, really rigid. You're never going to flex this one enough to cause contact between your fore-end tip and your barrel and throw a shot. Sling swivel cup and traditional stud on the bottom of the fore-end tip, so it's easy to mount a traditional, let's say a Harris type bipod or whatnot if you want. You can also put an adapter on there for a Spartan bipod / tripod system. Really nice ergonomics as well. Good vertical grip, palm swell on it, nice texture so it's not going to be slippery whether you're sweating or your hands are bloody or maybe wet with rain. Good recoil pad. There's just a lot to like about this rifle. Now this one retails for closer to $2,800 when you look at the specs. I suspect that if you buy that, you know, at your dealer, it's probably going to be closer to $2,400 to $2,600, especially if you kind of get one on sale somewhere. They're not commonly found on shelves, so you might have to special order one. You'll find the Weatherby and the Springfield Boundary more commonly on shelves. I forgot to mention the price on the Springfield Boundary, but it's right in this same ballpark between $2,000 and $2,400 depending on where you find it. Great price. If you can, folks, get to a local gun shop and handle all of these because they're all very equally good. Find the one that feels right to you, that appeals to you the most in terms of appearance, and just run with it. You're not going to go wrong with any of these rifles. If you can't find one at a local gun shop, try and get to a big outdoor event like the Western Hunting Expo that's held every February in Salt Lake City, where you can visit each manufacturer and really spend some time handling these products. Now, before we wrap up, I want to bring you what we're thinking just might be the purchase of the year in terms of value. It looks a lot like this rifle, but isn't quite exactly this rifle. It's an X-Bolt Gen 1 in 6.8 Western with a Macmillan carbon fiber stock like this. Now, if you buy that stock individually from Macmillan, you're looking at $600 to $800, depending on finish and accessories. The rifle right now is in stock at Lipsy's distributors, so your local dealer can order one for $1,050, $1,099 plus a $50 mail-in rebate. For a really good Browning with a Cerakote finish, carbon fiber stock in 6.8 Western, the long-range barrel assembly, that absolutely can't be beat. And there you go, folks. We sounds like everybody's home, the family's home from school. My dog's trying to tiptoe around, but she's not being quiet enough. So I'm going to sign off. But hope you enjoyed this first look at these fine rifles. We'll take them to the range, ring them out, and bring you an advanced report next. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joseph Von Benedict with the Backcountry Hunting Podcast, and we'll see you in the backcountry.